right, man. Well, I appreciate you hopping on. You and I spoke a little bit last week when you went to Forbidden Door. You got a chance to tell me like, yeah, you were there having a good time right before I just hit the record button or the live button. You were telling me a little bit about the behind baseball or whatnot, or behind the scenes a bit. So I wanted to ask you first that, as you know, there's a lot of here comes Steve. All right, coming in hot. What's going on, Steve?
Not much. How's everybody doing?
Doing well. We're already live, so you can't talk smack about Bob Lewis. So yeah,
Okay.
You can always talk smack about Bob Lewis. It's my favorite thing.
Fuck Bob.
By the way, that's for you. That's for you. I did.
That's awesome. So
I'll send you a few of them later.
Yeah, please. So we're talking Forbidden Door. Did you get a chance to watch it yet, Steve?
I have watched bits and pieces, but not the whole. Yeah.
So as you may or may not know, Carlos was there. So I was just gonna ask him because as you all both know, as I was getting ready to allude to this just a moment ago before you popped on, was that as we're not surprised that there are a lot of wrestling fans that are like, toxic and trolls, and you hear all this like crazy stuff. So I want to talk to the actual person who was there. So the first thing people say was it was not well attended, and it was not because they had people releasing pictures of it. Looked like before the actual crowd even got there. Yeah. But then you saw pictures of the actual main events, and it was like wall to wall people. So I just thought I'd ask you.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool.
It looked like it was well attended. So is that a true statement?
Yeah, they configured it for about 13K and change. There were 13K and change.
Oh.
It's how you configure it, right? It's which seats you actually sell. Mm-hmm. Most of the time when you're having empty seats, and this is like, again, you can play games. If you want to play games, there's very easy ways to do it. The hard cam they put a camera in the middle of a section. And what happens is when the camera guy's trying to do his thing, you're not going to have guys sitting to the left and right of him and in front of him, distracting him and being in the way of what they're trying to do with the cameras and the cables and everything. So guess what? You don't sell those seats. They don't count. They're not part of it. But guess what? If you take a picture from the other side, oh man, look at there's the person in the ring and there's nobody there. And it's like, yeah, that's a section that the hard cam owns.
All right.
It's a sellout for the camera guy whose job is to stand there and do his thing and point the ring. Yeah. So, but it's like, but if you point it from the other side, there's a whole bunch of people there. They're all there. And one thing I was saying to Jason is that, and this is a deceptive thing. The audio mix in the arena to me was too loud because my hearing's really good. So you've got the theme music's cranked up to like 11. And of course you got the loud crowd and everything. So like some stuff sounds distorted but then I watched the pay-per-view clips of the pay-per-view, and actually they mixed it really good. But in order to mix it really well, you actually turn down the crowd. Because there's stuff where I know for a fact the crowd popped really loud because I'm there listening and watching them. But the audio, you hear it, but it's like 30% of the actual volume level.
So that was the question I was you kind of alluded to it already there. So in general, the crowd was into pretty much all the matches. Was there any match or matches that the crowd wasn't like it was a bathroom break match or people just weren't feeling it, or was it pretty consistently, excited, excitable or whatever for most of the matches?
I think the crowd stayed very consistent. I was very impressed. Ironically, Forbidden Door, I wanted a bathroom break match because we kind of had to stay in our seats the whole time, and I'm like, dude, give me one.
Right.
So it's like, which one of the damn things on this card am I supposed to? Am I taking a bathroom break during Okada's match? No. And, you got friggin' Kenny Omega doing his thing with Will Ospreay. It's like, well, yeah, that match was 40 minutes.
Wow.
It was 14 minutes. And I'm sitting there like, dude, really? And I'm just sitting there like, this match may never end. It's just going to go on forever. It was an excellent match, just to be clear. And the crowd was into it. But when you've got a 40-minute match, there are like a couple moments where the crowd is like, dude, I'm literally just tired. I need a second.
Right.
So it wasn't that there wasn't great things happening. But to be honest, the consistency, and by the time you get to that by the time you get to the main event and all that stuff, the crowd's already been there for like 4 hours. So they had been very consistent. And once we got to the main event and stuff started to pick up there, then the crowd picked up again because they know the end is coming. It's like I think my understanding is I think the venue or the pay-per-view provider, I think had a hard cutoff at midnight. And my buddy and I, we came over by the train. We've got the train here that takes us over, and it's great for me because I live right near the train station right here, and the train goes straight there and straight back, so I can basically get on the train, go over there. The train station is right beside the arena. You can literally go straight from the train, boom, and you're already at the arena, right there.
Nice,
so, as fast as possible. So on the way back, that's convenient. But the last train of the night was 12:15. So like at 11:45 ish, my buddy's like, dude, I need to make sure I catch that last train. And I was like, what time is it? He goes, 12:15. I go, okay. So like at midnight flat, we'll go. I think they finished the match at 11:57.
Wow.
So because I think they had a hard cutoff at midnight, I think they had to.
Yeah.
And then obviously anybody who decides to stick around, they do like the post match. Somebody grabs a mic. I think it was Bryan Danielson who grabbed the microphone, like thank the crowd and do all this stuff. If you're just there or you're taking your car or taxi or whatever, then yeah, whatever. Stick around for that last beat. But yeah, as soon as we finished, it was like, boom.
Out we go.
Got somewhere to be, my dude. Got somewhere to be.
So I don't remember all the matches, like the card. Maybe you can pull it up because I know you're pretty good about that.
Yeah,
but and feel free anytime, Steve, to pop in if you have any questions or you have anything to add, because I just wanted to kind of talk about this first initially, that we can just kind of branch off from there. But I wanted to ask again, this is another thing that people were talking about online. People who obviously weren't even there had opinions about it. So what was the true reaction for CM Punk? Not in Chicago, but actually somewhere else that wasn't as, fan friendly, let's say.
Seemed like a mix.
Strong. It was a mix, but it was, I'll say it's like 70-30 booze.
Yeah.
And then during some stretches, it got a little stronger, a little louder. But I think from what I like watching CM Punk come in, like they got him on the screen and everything, and like watching him, he was having the time of his life.
He enjoyed
he
it.
Knows it.
Yeah,
he's a heel and he knows it. And like in Canada, they played to what they, let's put it this way: my crowd did what they were supposed to do. He's a heel. They treated him like one, but he's a heel that we enjoy for what he is. So we appreciate his heeldom. I was like, and as a natural heel, I'm like, I appreciate you. Now, boo.
Okay. So that was what I gathered too. I figured there was probably more boos than there were cheers.
It
looked like he leaned into it big during the match. Yeah. What I was watching from the camera, what the camera was letting you see, it looked like he was definitely feeding into that part, and he was eating it up. So that you just kind of confirmed what I already had, suspected. So what's your stance on it, Steve? What are you a CM Punk fan? Do you take him or leave him? What do you think about him? Kind of like where he's at right now, opposed to maybe 15 years ago, just in general.
I don't know. I enjoy his work as in the ring, but outside the ring, I could give two shits about him.
Right. I'm the exact same way. That's funny you say that. But I don't give a shit about the don't bring politics into fucking wrestling. Like, right.
Just let it be, man. Like the whole, I won't get into that either, but the whole bringing the kid into the ring and the sign and like, I don't need to see that. Just give me like, be heel Punk and I'll enjoy it and hate your guts. And so.
Yeah, he's a great. I like him in the ring. I think he does it. I think he does a great job telling stories.
Definitely.
I feel like he, and maybe you all might feel differently. I feel like he is like more of a throwback wrestler, more than I've seen from other. He's not doing a lot of the flips and he's not doing Sting at 62, climbing up on top of a ladder and jumping through the air. I don't know what he was thinking. I was disturbed when I saw that. I was like, "Is that elder abuse?" I was like, "What in the hell did we just watch here?"
I don't think it counts if he agreed to it and wanted to do it. I bet you he pitched that spot.
I'm sure he did.
He's crazy.
I'm sure no one's gonna make Sting do that. No. I hear, but it was just. I was just when I saw that, I'm thinking, "Don't do it, Steve. Don't do it. Don't you dare." Like, let Darby talk you out of it. And like, Darby's like, "No, go, do it." And I'm like, "Oh God, we're getting ready to watch Sting literally die in front of our eyes." I was like,
well, I think you got it reversed. The spot you're thinking of was Sammy Guevara jumping.
Yeah, Sammy Guevara
Sting's on the table.
Yeah.
And from what I understand,
I meant like fast forward this past Wednesday.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
That's what I meant. Like I was just saying that Punk tends to like wrestle like more old school, like ground and pound. He does a couple little things off the top rope, but he's not doing anything crazy. And then release more recently, and then I'm thinking that's like the old school kind of wrestling I like. I don't need everybody, I don't need like 15 people gathering at the side of the ring for him for someone to catch him. I don't know. And then like Sting, fast forward a week later, Sting's like on a 12-foot ladder jumping through the sky. And I'm just like, what the hell's happening right now? So yeah. Anyways, but
Sting Hardy.
Yeah, Sting Hardy. Yeah, he's joined. He's a third member of the Hardy Boys now.
Well, in fairness, he's probably physically still in better shape than Jeff.
Yeah. Jeff.
Even
Jeff
still,
has.
he can afford that bump. Jeff is already like dead, and his body hasn't caught up with it
yet. Yeah. I thought Jeff would look great coming back after being like sober again. Apparently, I was wrong because
physically, he's broken.
Yeah,
physically, he's broken.
He's been through so much, man.
I know they had to write him off because they're in Canada right now, so he couldn't go because of his legal troubles or whatnot.
Yeah,
so they were building some momentum with him, so I'm hoping when they get back stateside, they can kind of pick that up because I do. I don't know how you all feel. I mean, I guess we're going to kind of switch gears real quick, but I do want to see the Hardy Boys have one more run as the tag team champs. I don't know if you all feel the same way. You're like, I don't need that, but I kind of want to see it one more time, even if it's just a short run.
I personally am at the point where I don't care.
I don't need it in 2023. And like I said, like physically, Jeff Hardy can do something. I'd almost, if you want to use Jeff Hardy for something, I would limit him to like multi-man tags. Not even tag team. Like, I mean like 4-man tags, there something like that, or even like a trios thing where like there's he can do a couple of moves, tag out, couple moves, tag out. If you insist, if he really wants to go out there and do a couple of things, yeah, fine. Then just do it for you. You really have to kind of shift him over, minus him deciding just to randomly do it on his own. You got to shift him more to the way you're using Sting. He should have matches once in a blue moon. Give him enough time to heal in between matches, and then he can't do any sustained run. Even a short tag team title run is like, it just, what for? Then you just make him transitional champion to hand it over to somebody else. You don't want to hot potato a tag team championships. Those are still pretty well held.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't really want to see FTR losing because I love FTR, so I don't want to see them losing. Huh?
It's too late for Jeff now. It's
you
want one more title run. You needed it maybe a couple of years ago. You had one more shot. You wanted to try it. Not now.
Right. I see what you're saying. I think for me, of course, I understand it's no more nostalgia than in reality. I totally accept that. But
I'm a huge Jeff Hardy fan. I just think like Jeff ruined it for Jeff, and like I think we wouldn't have got caught up in the things that he did. That then again, if I was doing the shit he's doing, I'd probably be popping a ton of shit too, like and drinking and but that's just
for sure. So we talked a little bit about the CM Punk thing. Carlos, you said you have the card pulled up. Can we discuss the first actual match, not the 0 hour?
You don't want the 0 hour? I will chime in one though. I'll mention one.
What up, Steve? Vintage Cards. What's up, brother? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Athena did have a match with Billy Starks as part of the Owen Cup. So they
Who did
have a match there? Athena.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So they had a women's Owen Card Cup match involved in that. Yep, exactly. Solid match, pretty good. Athena has been able to do a lot of good things with the ROH Women's title, and it was good to have her on the card. I think it was a good thing. And Billy Starts was one they wanted to get a chance to get another look at, and she was good. She was solid for what she was. She's still very young, like super young.
Yeah.
So it's one of those.
18 years old. She just graduated high school.
Yeah, they wanted to get a chance to see her. So I thought it was good. She acquitted herself all right, and Athena knows what she's doing. So they were able to do their thing. It was a 7.5, 8 minute match, not a crazy thing, but I think it was a good outing for her. So I was happy that she got a match in this card. This one is more of a kind of an exhibition thing, but they had El Phantasmo taking on Stu Grayson. I think people didn't know what to make of El Phantasmo, but I love that he had a light up shirt a la Chris Jericho.
Yeah,
like with the LEDs and everything.
I didn't know who he was, but it was a good match. I mean, and I don't mean to like just like gloss over the 0 Hour. I didn't know how long you want to be doing this, but so
I just wanted to mention a couple of highlights for me from the 0 Hour. I thought those two are worthy to just mention them quickly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think let me just.
And I'm a huge Ember Moon / Athena mark. Anyways, like I mean, like you can see, like I have like all kinds of like Athena / Ember Moon stuff. Mm-hmm. Like her and Ruby Soho are my two girls. Like I know you have Britt Baker.
I love Ruby.
I know you're Stacy Keibler, but
yeah, for sure.
But, all right, and
go ahead.
Yeah, in yesterday's like WWE Stacy Keibler is definitely my go-to.
Is she coming back or something, or no?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were alluding that she's coming back. I'm like, I think she's married with like kids now.
She's
like she's
so
way
rich.
past all that.
Like she is so rich. Like I never knew her husband was like fucking like so rich that he's worth a ton of money. Like she has no reason to get back into that.
But also, she was never a great wrestler in the first place.
No,
like,
she wasn't.
What on earth would she need to do at this point? She was super young when she started.
Oh yeah, she still looks good in my opinion.
Yeah, I think she's in her early 40s. Like she's still super young.
43.
If she wanted to do something, she could. But at the same time, why? Like it's like what the hell for? She could just show up, like wave and do some autographs or something. Like if you want to do like a WrestleMania. They got like that fan event or whatever. Yeah, they invite her in to do some autograph signings or something. Totally makes sense. But in ring, like, what for?
No.
I'd go to that too. I'd still be down. So
yeah, what I mean though is like she has ways that she could still give value and still do things.
Yeah,
take a single bump. There's zero reason to do so. She doesn't need it. She's got plenty of money, obviously. So no, it's like no, just sign some autographs. Take a paycheck, have a good time, take some pictures with folks. Done.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, moving on. You were saying about the next match.
Yep, I've got the beginning of the show. So MJF did the bit where he says, "I'm going to get out of here as soon as possible." So you start the show with MJF taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi. So you got that going on. So really strong. So this is where the crowd started off really strong because it's the beginning of the show. Right, so we're not 3-4 hours in, so good energy for it. Tanahashi got a great reaction, really nice, with the graphics and everything, the whole thing they did. The match was okay for what it was. It was about 15 minutes long, which is by AEW standards short. MJF wrestled a good match for him. Tanahashi's knees are broken, like they're broken.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, like he can barely move.
Tell. Yeah,
and it's not lack of willingness. Tanahashi's not a young man. He's wrestled a billion matches. He knows how to work the crowd, though. The crowd likes him. The people respect him, and the crowd likes him. And he's been a legit dude for a long time. But it's like it's almost in the same vein. It's like, dude, what on earth? You don't even need this.
Yeah.
You've already got a great career. You've already had a great career. You've been the champion. You're New Japan's ace. You've done all that. You got all that stuff. Take it easy. Go to the autograph circuit. People love you. Just do that thing. You're fine. But I feel bad for some of these wrestlers who have legacies already, and they don't need it. There's like you have nothing left to prove. He was never going to win this match. It was kind of an exhibition thing for MJF to do his thing, and it was nice to have it for like the Forbidden Door format. It was great to have him. I just don't know if having him compete for the AEW Championship in a match he was never going to win.
Sure.
It's a notch on MJF's belt. He gets to say, "Well, it beat Tanahashi." There you go.
Yeah. Sure, and I'm sure he'll bring it up too. I'm sure it'll pop up in a promo at some point.
Yeah. So from that perspective, I get it. And like I said, the match wasn't bad. Both guys are pros. They know how to make a workable match out of it. But yeah, Tanahashi has no business being in a 15-minute match in 2023 right now with broken knees.
Sure. So what was after that one? That was the CM Punk, right?
It is CM Punk taking on Kojima. So
you said that was we already kind of talked about that one, but I'm assuming the crowd was pretty hot for that one as well.
Yeah. So this match I would say was a step up in quality in terms of the match itself. CM Punk worked the crowd, did his part really well. It was a little shorter, which is great, and that was for the first round of the Owen Hart Cup. So on the men's side of things, getting that going, good match for what they needed out of it. CM Punk worked the crowd properly as a heel. It establishes what he's going to. He's basically going to do. I saw somebody do the right comparison. CM Punk is going to be basically Bret Hart when he was feuding with the United States. He will be a face in Canada and in other parts of the world, but in the U.S. he's a heel. Right. So CM Punk will be like that everywhere outside of Chicago. He's a heel.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. That's true. And I was gonna ask you because they were alluding a couple of times throughout leading up to Forbidden Door, or at least in Canada, that Bret Hart might have some kind of connection here. Did you get at all vibes that Bret Hart's going to be in some capacity while they're in Canada? Because FTR is making some allusions to it. I think someone else was talking about the excellence of execution. Oh, I think it was Bryan Danielson was talking about it.
Yeah, it was Bryan.
And so I was wondering, do you get a vibe at all that's going to be on the horizon, or you just think they're just playing it up and that has nothing to do with it?
It's always possible, but I think if you're going to do it, I think you do it for maybe one of the last shows with the Owen Hart Cup thing, or the Owen Hart Cup finals. One or the other, because now this is interesting for me. I'll throw this at you. Is it possible? Totally. 100% possible.
I'm thinking.
The question would be, is Bret on speaking terms with Marsha Hart at this point?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
That's a big issue. Because Marsha Hart has basically separated herself out from the rest of the Hart family because the rest of the Hart family went back in bed with the WWE. And Martha Hart has absolutely no love for the WWE. And deservedly so. Like, I'm sorry, I justified.
Right, 100%.
The WWE is like, but it's been years ago. It's like, he died on your watch, so with your stupid thing. It's like, he's still dead. The statute of limitations has not ended on his death.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So then Bret and the rest of the Hart family will take WWE's paychecks after that. I think rubs Martha Hart the wrong way, and I feel like she's justified in this feeling.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's legit. So the question is, if Bret was able to at least have a peaceful interaction with Martha Hart, then maybe he would be invited. It would make sense for Bret to be involved somewhere towards the end of that, maybe the presentation with it. If they were able to come to some kind of an arrangement and peace, then if Bret was there with Martha Hart presenting the Owen Hart Cup thing, I think that would be a great visual and a great piece to add to that.
Right. Maybe what they could do is have Bret Hart, carry out the trophy, whatever like that. And then they can have Goldberg just punch him real hard, like out.
I think he needs to give him a super kick.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Too soon. So Martha Hart to WWE is what Bret Hart is to Goldberg.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
Then
the match that everybody wants
forever. Then now forever.
Right.
Bret Hart will never let that go. That's something that'll take to his grave. Like that is. Yeah.
Bret Hart is a man who holds grudges. I kind of appreciate that about him, though. If I'm being completely honest.
I do too.
Bret Hart is a bitter man. Like, look, if you get him in the right mood, he'll probably complain to you about somebody screwing up his coffee order in 1986.
Right.
He's just a bitter man at all times.
He is. You're right. He is. He has lots of videos, like shoot videos, where he is pissing and moaning a whole lot.
But he is telling the truth. I mean, it's not like he's. It's not like I don't know. He's just brutally honest and sometimes a little too honest and bitchy and.
But I agree with you. I agree with you totally. But I will say, like, for some of it, look, where I just said a second ago, Martha Hart is 100% justified in having a feud with the WWE forever. It's a blood feud. She can keep it going forever, and I'm like, nope, you have every right. Bret, though, would actually feud with the coffee guy from 1986. Like, it's like, dude, this one is not on the scale of things that people aggrieved you. This is not the one that you need. This is not the blood feud you need in your life. Well, you want to be pissed at Goldberg forever? Legit. Totally legit. I'm 100% with you. You hate Hogan? Cool, man. I'm with you. But the coffee guy, get over it.
But you know what? I don't know if you ever noticed this. I mean, I'm sure you all both watch lots of the documentaries or like the different videos that are out there over the years.
All of them.
And let me. So this is something I always thought about, and it's cool that you all brought it up because we're kind of talking about like Bret Hart. Who will ever listen to him talk about how he's been wronged over the years by XYZ, wrestler or whatever organization or whatnot. That's true. And how he is like, especially with Goldberg, it's just like over it, right? But Steve Austin, who was dropped on his neck by Owen, like if you still, even to this day, like he feels obligated to kind of like give him a pass, even though he doesn't want to, because he hurt him so badly and almost kept him out of commission and made his career much shorter. Like I just watched a documentary or like a talking head thing recently, and you can tell like Steve Austin, Stone Cold's like he wants to be like, fuck Owen Hart, but he doesn't because of what had happened to him. But he's like, he still brings up how he's, of course, bitter about the whole thing of how it happened and all that. Kind of like the Goldberg, Bret Hart thing, it was kind of like it ruined his career, but Bret can continue to talk about it and just, nonstop, which again, like what you said, Carlos, like rightfully so, it ruined his career, whatever. Yeah. But like, Stone Cold can't really be that way because people would just give him all kind of grief if he was like this bad mouthing a dead man all the time. So he kind of just like brushes over it. Have you all ever noticed them ever talking about it and like he doesn't, he goes right up to the edge, but he doesn't like say anything else?
Yeah, he kind of just stops and says, yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but it says Steve knows how to read the room. Like,
right.
He like, look, and what benefit is it anyway? Like, here's the thing, two sides. One, it would look bad to your point, but two, he is dead. So right. What are you gonna like? You think dissing him is gonna like make him upset from beyond the grave? Like, what is that even gonna? What is he even gonna do? At least Goldberg can hear about Bret Hart's 87,000 shots. So like, somebody will ask him about it, and then maybe it'll annoy him while he's trying to eat his lunch or something. Like you can still kind of get to him or poke him a little bit from the distance. So Goldberg is still around to be annoyed by this. So Bret Hart can take those shots. And the other thing is that Steve Austin, yes, it shortened his career, but Steve Austin had his best run after that.
That's true.
Because when that happened,
that was 96, wasn't it?
Yeah, somewhere in that range. Yeah. So like he didn't win his world titles in WWE until after, and he still ended up having the greatest like peak run, short as it was, one of the greatest peak runs. So like on the one hand, you can be upset that it shortened your career, but on the other hand, it's like you can't say that it prevented you from having amazing success, multiple WrestleMania main events. So you made a lot of money. So so like it didn't end everything for you. But I'm sure you're pissed. Of course, every time your neck feels bad, you get up in the morning, your neck is like, come on. So I agree with that, but we can't say that Steve Austin's life sucks since then. He's had a really good run.
Right. Still amazing shape too. Like,
oh my gosh,
got arms like, man, dude.
I know. That dude. I mean, he looks like he still looks like he's in killer shape. I mean, I'm super impressed. Well, we're talking about people who took bumps in the ring and that didn't recover. The one Droz passed away yesterday, I believe. And yeah, right. And that was kind of.
I'm sure that's the gimmick he wants to be remembered for.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he was probably like, please scrub that from the internet when I'm gone. Like, don't ever let that be around. But that was another one, D'Lo Brown. Where that was obviously it was an accident. It was not on purpose. But it ruined. It's like his career was over. Not only his career, but essentially his life as he knew it was over. And and he never came back from it. But I've heard from both you. If you watch videos of them talking about it or documentaries, obviously D'Lo Brown was like super apologetic. It was obviously an accident. And then Droz never took it personal. He said it was an accident. He let him. He didn't like harbor any ill will or like bad mouth him the entire the last 15, 18 years or whatever it was.
Take notes, Bret Hart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it was just it was one of those things again where it was a life, not only just a career ending, but a life changing event where kind of like apparently whatever I understand he took a super kick from Goldberg. Was it something that it did something to his brain, or like what was the issue that he can't wrestle anymore? Like, I don't think I ever really got that. I always hear about what happened in the fallout.
It was a severe concussion that caused a stroke later on down the road.
Oh, okay.
So it was number one, the concussion, basically because I think he tried to get back in the ring again too soon. The thing about a concussion, you get a really bad concussion. The last thing in the world you need is another concussion in short order.
Right.
That's actually what put Adam Cole out for a while recently, because he had taken a concussion and then got another one right after that immediately, and they're like, "Yep, no, get out of here, get off. Right. You're not doing anything until." And they left him a long runway to get cleared because they're like, "You can't afford another concussion after these first two. They were too close together." So
Sure.
that's not healthy long term. You got to stay away from that.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, so sorry, we went all over the place there, but it was a good conversation. So let's bring it back. So after the Punk match, what was next?
So you got Orange Cassidy slowly dying, taking on Zack Sabre Jr., Shibata, and Daniel Garcia. Now I got a note that I want to give about this match, but I want you guys, if you want to give any thoughts about that. So that was a 4-way match for the International Championship, the most protected and prestigious championship in AEW.
He's made it something special. I'll give him that.
It's been fun. I've enjoyed this title run by Orange Cassidy. He's gotten a lot of props for what's basically a comedy gimmick. The dude can wrestle, and he's worked, and he's taken this title, and they made it into a fun run. He defends the title constantly, so you can't argue that he never defend. No, he's defending it all the time.
I agree. Steve, do you have anything to say before I say anything? I'll let you go first.
I think
beauty.
Basically the same thing, man. He's done well with everything. The thing I like about Orange Cassidy too is that even outside of the ring, he still plays that same. Just same character, constantly.
Yeah, he's kind of him and MJF and Danhausen. There's a handful of those guys that really keep their gimmick, usually even out of the ring, and which is you hardly ever see anymore. WWF, they don't do that. None of them do it, to my knowledge. Maybe Roman Reigns to a lesser degree, but everybody else, to my knowledge, they all get on their Twitters and their Instas and all that stuff, and they just show pictures of them in bikinis and goofing off with each other and doing dance videos on TikTok and blah, blah, blah. But then AEW, there's a handful of them who's at least publicly are living their gimmick, which I respect because it's about near impossible in today's society to do that. So, yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, I think also great. I was always lukewarm on Orange Cassidy over the years. I liked him, but I wasn't overtly impressed. But this run has really got me way more invested in his character, right? And I always thought he was a good wrestler. I just wasn't connecting with the whole I don't give a shit attitude. That's what his thing is. He just kind of shows up, has his hand, as Jim Cornette says, pockets, right? He always has his hand in his pockets or whatever, and all that. But over the last 3-4 months, maybe longer. I don't know how long he's had it now. It's been really good, and I'm a little bit nervous. I'm interested to see what you all think, and maybe Carlos, you can, as soon as I say this, you can piggyback off of it and say what you're going to say. Mm-hmm. I'm a little bit nervous because I think AEW probably realizes once they take it off of him, it will drop the significance of the belt to whoever else gets it, because I think he's elevated it up to a point that hadn't been elevated before. It's up there, pretty a respectable belt, and people tune in to watch him defend that belt. And I'm afraid, once he loses it to whoever, maybe a Miro or somebody gets it, it might be okay. But if somebody who's, more of a mid-carder or something pops in and gets it for a while, I think it's going to just kind of diminish the importance of it. So, maybe they will introduce it to somebody like a Miro, like I said. So what's your thoughts, Carlos? You said you had some insights about the match, and then you had some, what's your thoughts in general?
Okay, so first thing is, I thought the match was really good, and it plays into this development of him getting worn down.
Right.
Every match, he gets more and more worn down, and I think, if memory serves me, I think in this match he basically pushed somebody out of the way and basically hit a move and stole the pin, which is what needs to have. If the whole story, the irony is, like I said, Jim Cornette's of course got his strong opinions about it, but the thing is, I'm sorry, there was a story there. The dude's getting beat down, and he's starting to have to take shortcuts to hold this belt. He's holding it with an iron grip, clutching it. And it's the guy who doesn't care seems to really care about retaining this championship. That's why I say, from a character perspective, well, the thing is, there is something you can do with that. What happens that prompts him to actually have to care? Well, in this case, he seems to care about retaining this championship because now he's starting to take some shortcuts, and you're seeing it. So I think there's a few guys, like a Miro, for example, who could. But my only concern with that is, whoever has it then also has to have a story of something in play that they're going to do.
Sure.
The first thing you could do, obviously, is I'm not defending it every 5 seconds. You'd be well, the other guy was an idiot. That's why I was able to beat him, so I'm not going to do that. But you can still have but you still have to have feuds and stories going off of it, because, like I said, right now the belt is in really good shape. Orange Cassidy has put it into a good position.
Yes,
because the only 2 title holders were Pac and Orange Cassidy, both guys who can work. And one thing I didn't know is I didn't know Orange Cassidy was 39, and he's in
same here.
good shape.
He's 39 years old.
Younger.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
he's 1 year younger than I am, and the dude's in great shape, great athlete, and like very impressive what he can do in the ring, especially with his hands in his pockets. It's actually really impressive.
All that jumping off the mat or like popping off the mat. So let me ask you all this too, because I'm a huge fan of Swerve Strickland. I feel like he gets recently a lot more TV time. I was starting to get nervous there for a while. He kind of disappeared after the whole Keith Lee stuff. That match that he had with Orange Cassidy, where he really first time cheats, right? Orange Cassidy holds the trunks or whatever. That's like his real first like dip into like, what do I got to do to retain this belt, right? I thought that match was absolutely a banger. I mean, that was like, I thought a pay-per-view match that we got for free on TV. I was really impressed at how well that match. I mean, it was they let him tell a story. They let the match breathe. There was a lot of going on in that. There was some really great spots in there. I was super impressed. I knew that Swerve Strickland had it in him, and he's done some really good matches. Like the one with Darby was really good. He had a couple months ago. But anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there. If anyone has not seen that match between Orange Cassidy and Swerve Strickland, like about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 at this point, it's worth checking out in the entirety. I was really just impressed with that match. I don't know, like I said, any thoughts? Anybody seen that one at all?
Yeah, I thought it was really good as well.
Yeah. So one other thing I'll say about that there is, like I said, I would love to see Miro have some of that, but I honestly think Swerve Orange Cassidy 2.
Yeah.
I would almost rather see that be the championship match at a pay-per-view, and that's where Swerve takes it from him after he's been beaten down and everything that has come before. It'll make total sense. It doesn't hurt Swerve. It doesn't hurt Orange Cassidy. And then Swerve could go out with his grill and his title and the Mogul affiliates and the whole bit. It gives more credibility to the Mogul affiliates for him to have a championship. There's some of these stables who need somebody with a championship because it gives them that little extra.
Yeah, I agree.
And Swerve would make sense visually being that dude with the title and the whole bit.
I love Miro. Title, by the way. I love Miro, but it seems like something's not right since he left WWE and came over to AEW. Like, he seems to be different as far as his obviously he's different, but like his personal life, just like I don't know.
Well, after you had Bobby Lashley banging your wife on national TV multiple times, it probably it probably never feels the same again. So whatever that's about.
Look, I'll say this. I think Miro's biggest asset is his biggest liability. He's just this big dude, who can be intense. He can be funny. He can do all these things. But it's almost like they haven't figured out how to balance that out. And like the end of his WWE run was bad too. So the argument is like, I'm sorry, the WWE didn't use him properly. AEW hasn't been able to use him properly. But they also, I'm not sure, they're probably perplexed. They're like, on paper this should be really easy, but it's actually, where do we put him? How does he fit? That's the thing we talked about with the international championship. Look, it would seem like, just make Miro the next international champion. Okay, cool. Then what?
Right.
Like, is he just going to kill everybody? Like, that's not very interesting.
That is true.
Who can really challenge him in the right way to make it compelling? And there's not too many guys that can do. And the problem is if you just hand him the title, okay, so now then he smokes everybody, then what? Okay, then he goes for the AEW championship. Like, it would feel awkward. So I think they're still probably sitting there going like, how do we do this? How do we do this so it makes sense and it works for him, but then also doesn't just wreck everybody else just to make him look good? Because that's not going to work either. That you need to work with these people, so you need a roster of viable contenders for whatever you decide to do. So one more thing I wanted to say about this match. Like I said, I thought it was a really good match. Everybody is on point. Zack Sabre Jr. was great. Shibata was great. Daniel Garcia entertained the hell out of me. And I would recommend if you can watch this match. Daniel Garcia is solid in the ring. He's solid.
Yeah.
But when they do the Jumbotron thing, whatever, they came out and at the top of his thing, it said, I think what I want to say is, I think for Zack Sabre Jr. it might have said wrestler, or Shibata maybe. It said wrestler at the top, like that was for the Jumbotron. But then when Daniel Garcia came out, in basically the same spot, it said sports entertainer. And then,
I love stuff like that AEW does. I love that.
And then Daniel Garcia came out, but he does his thing, like he does his
he
got to say, But here's the thing, he does it where he dances. And he did this like 4 times during the match, where he just randomly starts dancing. And I was just, as the taunt is him dancing, and I was just sitting there like, I think I want somebody. And Chris Jericho was around in WCW during this time. I kind of want him to do the Alex Wright thing. I want to do the Alex Wright dance. I want him to do the. I just want to see how many people get that deep cut. Chris Jericho should be the one to pitch this. Look, if you're gonna do a dance taunt, do the Alex Wright dance taunt.
What is that? Funny. I don't know. I'm not gonna front. I don't know. Can you allude to it?
Yeah, he does a whole dance. Like I'll find a video of it. Jason,
and his music.
Alex Wright was jokes, man. Alex Wright was jokes with his stupid dancing.
I like Alex Wright though. Like I love at WCW. I liked Alex Wright, man. I don't know. There's something about him.
The thing is, he was a good wrestler.
The
dancing gimmick was. I think what it is, because I want to say Alex Wright. I want to say he's German, because I think his nickname was Das Wunderkind. Like this whole thing.
Das Wunderkind.
But the thing is, he when he came out, he was very generic, because he just had the tights and the trunks.
Green trunks, like the.
And then he'd have a leather jacket, and at a certain point, he was tagging with disco. So they had Disco Inferno. So then he was doing this stupid little dance. And then and their tag team was the Dancing Fools. It was a whole stupid thing. But look, AEW, Tony Khan loves his old school wrestling stuff anyway.
Right.
They did the thing in AEW where they had Chris Jericho kind of reprise this thing with Dean Malenko, and they made reference to the 1,004 holds. They made reference to that. And I joke with my buddy, I go, here's the thing. I guarantee you 99.99999% of the audience will not get that joke.
Yeah, I have no idea yet.
Yeah, but I was like, I feel like Chris Jericho and Dean Malenko, all they did was they gave an Easter egg to like me and 3 other people. I loved it. I appreciated it.
Awesome.
I appreciate it. But that is a deep, deep cut, my man. That is a deep cut.
Yeah,
the Alex Wright one. I want to see the Alex Wright as another Chris Jericho deep cut. Like,
that'd be awesome.
Okay, so I just want to mention that. That was entertaining.
Good deal. So after that match, who was next?
So Sonata, the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, taking on Jungle Boy Jack Perry. The match was okay. Do you want to just skip to the post match? Because
let's just go. That was what that match was really about.
That was the only thing that mattered.
Yeah, the match. Like I said, the match is okay. I think the problem right now, just to give you a little insight, I think that the issue is that, from what I understand, Sonata hasn't really distinguished himself yet. He is a good wrestler. And obviously he's the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and that organization has had some great champions. He doesn't have a ton of charisma. Doesn't have a lot of. Now, you can still develop it. I'm not condemning the guy. I don't watch enough New Japan. But I'm saying, like, he needs to figure out what his thing's going to be. Because we talk about some of these other champions, including Okada and everything. They all figured out what their thing is and then played it up when they became champions, and it worked. But they have to. Sonata has to figure out what his thing is going to be, whatever that's going to be. And ironically, Jungle Boy was in the same problem. It's like, you're Jungle Boy. What do we do with that? What does this mean going forward, long term? So post match, so he loses. He's had a bunch of title opportunities now at this point recently, and the frustration boils over, and he takes it out on Hook. Now, 2 things. Number one, I wanted to go see the commentary because Taz played it perfectly. Like, he's pissed. He's pissed that his son got attacked. He had given the impartiality up until that point, but now he's obviously upset about it. And he basically left the commentary position, and they replaced him for the rest of the show, which made sense, which is good. I like that he went heel. I like that it's something different, because otherwise he had no character traits. And I like when he did his promo, just skipping past Forbidden Door. I like that in his promo he referenced that he's dating Anna Jay. But I was sitting there like, I like this, but I almost feel like it should have happened under the Smarmy Christian regime. I almost feel like, go back to your Smarmy Christian overlord. Yeah. Now's the time. Have him teach you the ways. Yeah. So I was like, all right, I appreciate the attempt, but we got to keep workshopping this. I like that he's being now an arrogant douchebag with a hot girlfriend. Like, I'm with you, but we got to work on this. Maybe a turtleneck.
Turtleneck? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's Smarmy Christian's thing now. He's got his turtleneck out there. Listen, Smarmy Christian is best Christian.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I agree for Christian. Yes, that's 100% true. If Jungle Boy tried to do that, I'd be a little bit concerned.
Well, I think he needs to borrow something. Like, I'm saying it in jest. I'm saying that he should work with Christian behind the scenes, It's just awkward now because the whole thing was that he was, facing Luchasaurus and like whatever. It's like you have become what you hated.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like sitting there like, you might as well still stay under Christian then if you were going to be the. That's why I say like Chris. You know what? You're going to have to model. You don't have to rip off Christian shtick, but I'm saying borrow bits and pieces that make sense from some of your best heels. You got some really good heels in that company. Borrow some of that stuff so that you can execute it. It's just weird. I'm for it because it's something. He's had no real character development up until this point. I just think it's gonna. He's got to figure out what his voice is. I just don't know. Like I said, whereas I'm a natural heel at all times, it would be awkward for me to suddenly try to be a nice guy.
Right. You don't want to. You can't be what you're not truly. Yeah. So
but he feels awkward. As a natural heel, he'll be like, let me teach you. Let me teach you. He needs help. He needs a little bit because his promo was like, you said the things that you're supposed to say, but the crowd is still kind of trying to figure you out.
Right. It still sounded kind of childish, like not manly. I don't know how to describe it, but
yeah. So now we're gonna see because now they've dropped the theme song, which is good, and he was taunting people for liking the theme song, which is good. Like I said, it's not all bad, and it's a step in the right direction for progress. I want to see some progress. So now the question is, okay, but what comes next? Now you're gonna have the feud with Hook. Do you steal the FTR title, which by the way isn't a real title? Like, at least you acknowledge it's not a real title, but it's like, guys, who cares? You become the new FTR champion. It doesn't mean anything. It's not a recognized title.
Yeah, I think I was looking something up while you were talking. I was listening, but do you all ever watch wrestling shoot interviews? The guy who does that, British kid who does it, and he has a bunch of old
the one that does Dutch.
The one he does with Dutch Mantel. Yeah. So that guy, I think he does a really good job of getting like the guys that have been around forever, and then like he has a good way of like getting them to talk about like stories that you don't hear or elaborate. I don't know how he does it, but to me it seems like it's a little bit fresher, like it's a little bit different views on things. And the reason I bring it all up,
it's not the same shit.
Yeah, it's not the same shit every time. Exactly. But he does one now specifically with Dutch Mantel, like story time with Dutch Mantel. But like he was talking about, the reason I was looking it up before was that he was talking about the Jungle Boy, or now Jack Perry. He's like dropping Jungle Boy or whatever, supposedly. But
he's the Jungle Man, Jason. He's the Jungle Man.
Jungle Man, right? He's the Jungle Man, right? But he was talking about how he enjoyed that with Jack Perry. And he said he enjoyed it. He said he liked what they're doing, and he said that he sees a really good future that he can go and then have a nice program with Hook. Now, I would assume you both agree, like, this is something that can last a while. It doesn't have to be, like, they don't need to do this, like, right out of the gate, like, let it go back and forth for a while, let it, like, build, kind of like what you all were talking about with like, the Orange Cassidy thing. Like, it's been building, maybe with Swerve Strickland, and then Swerve shows back up and beats him, at a pay-per-view. Like, they can do that thing with Hook because Hook is really hot. He could be the baby face. Now Jack Perry, who's went to heel, and people like love Jack Perry, loved his music. They've been like, he's been there since the beginning. And I do agree. I think that was like, to me, it wasn't surprising. You knew something was coming, but I don't think we're talking about charisma. You talking about that earlier with Sonata. And I feel like Jack Perry is just as dangerous with the lack of charisma, which is kind of hilarious because his dad's was a famous actor and had oozed charisma. And then Jack Perry did not unfortunately inherit any of that. It looks like it's almost like he's scared to talk. And I think he's actually done an interview where he talks about being scared to talk,
he gets anxiety.
Yeah, the anxiety. So, he's gonna have to overcome that because, you gotta, if he ever wants to go toe to toe with anybody like a John Moxley or MJF or anybody like that, he's gonna get eaten alive. So he needs to figure it out. So maybe this might be a good move for him, but I'm here for it because I definitely like Hook. And I've never been a big Jack Perry fan, but I'm all for it. If they end up doing something interesting with them, then okay, let's see where it goes. So
yeah. In ring he's solid. I enjoy his work in ring. But look, that's the reason why I said, even if it's behind the scenes, I would go work with a Christian or somebody because he's had so much time to work on. Christian knows now how to hit the right notes. He knows exactly how to play back and forth, and all right, I'm going to go below the belt now. Now's the time. I'm going to go below the belt. And I'm listening to the crowd, and I'm going to play off of you. In the show, they had Christian come on the Forbidden Door show, literally be like, Tony Khan asked me to come out here. I don't want to be here. See ya.
Exactly.
Like, it's perfect, which is perfect. Like, it's great. They literally brought him out there to be like, yeah, I'm not from Toronto, but like, I'm an actual champion. I don't want to be here.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to allude to when he said I'm a real champion and none of you all suck. And he goes, You only had one guy was the Toronto Raptors that was any good. He's the one who won the championship for you. This kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I told him to leave. I told him to get out of here.
Yeah, I love it. That was yeah. He's definitely him and MJF are really good about getting. We kind of alluded to this last week, Carlos, or 2 weeks ago, about how if you're able to keep the believable, heat going, they both can do it really well when they pick the different cities, they pick some topics in that town, they'll pick something like either political or like in the news, they'll talk about the sports teams, they'll talk about whatever, and it's really good that they do that because it makes it personal, it makes it topical, and gets people like all riled up because it's like an automatic knee-jerk reaction, like how dare you talk about a sports team or how dare you talk about whatever. So I like that about them both.
Yeah.
So,
but just that's why I said though, this is where if I was Jack Perry, I would be like studying what Christian is doing, how he's doing it, why.
Yeah, now's the time.
Learn all the lessons because, and this is really important, Christian has gotten so good that he's doing this shit, acting like he's the TNT champion. He's not the TNT champion. The other guy is the one who's the champion. He's the one parading around with the belt, going, "I'm a real champion." He's sitting there like, "You didn't win shit." But that's how good he is at being smarmy and doing the whole thing. He goes, I'm going to get this other guy to do all the work, and I'm just going to parade around with the belt like I want it.
Do you think it's possible, and I know we're just kind of just talking like this, I'm just kind of throwing it out there, that Jack Perry now has turned heel, that eventually he'll cross paths again with Christian, and Christian actually will turn babyface because Jack Perry's heel now at some point? Do you think you can see that happening as a legit, organic thing happen? Or do you think that would be counterproductive and maybe they need to move away from that storyline altogether?
It would take like a year or two. The problem is it would take, because right now, kind of to what your point was from earlier, the problem is he literally just turned heel.
Right.
And he doesn't feel, and like in that first promo that I listened to him, he does not feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And you can tell, he doesn't feel comfortable. So it's going to take some time. To your point, I do think it would be good for the Hook thing to last a little while. Right now, he's getting his footing. He's establishing a foundation. Yeah. I actually like the idea of him being heel. I think this is a good thing.
Yeah,
maybe he's got to lean into I got the super hot girlfriend, and maybe Anna Jay needs to go out with him and do the whole thing. Just play into it. But now they're both going to have to, if they decide to do that, then they're going to be a package deal for a while. They need to both be working on what is the smarmiest, most assholey way that we can play this up to be booed. Because if we're going to go with it, we want to be booed. That's the point of this entire exercise.
Well, then he definitely find out how to do that from Sammy Guevara, because whenever he comes out with Tay Conti, people lose their minds.
Yeah, but I think the thing, though, is that Sammy Guevara, Tony Khan, like I said, for all Tony Khan has been able to do well, there's sometimes where Tony Khan almost misses the forest for the trees, right in front of him. He goes, you realize when you pair these two, they're going to boo them, right? And they were like, well, I tried to make them. It's like, they're going to boo them.
Right.
And then after, they're like, oh, wait, we should play into that. Yes, for the love of... Why do I have to explain this to you? God! So if Jungle Boy comes out with Anna Jay, that's fine. Then you're going to have to repackage him. Honestly, I would drop all the jungle shit. I would just
I would too.
Do something else. You want to change the theme song? Good start. Great. Get rid of the catchy theme song with the whole thing. That's a start. But your next theme song, it better be awesome, but it better be different.
90210.
Yeah. It needs to be something good.
The 90210 theme song. Oh my God.
I actually wouldn't mind that for one night.
Oh, that was
I think that'd be a very fun. It's like, well, we'll get to it when we get to the main event. But they brought back a theme song for in the main event. So I'm saying, if you want to pick your spot and find the right time and place to do it, I actually don't mind that idea. But I think for his regular theme song, though, you need to come up with something good that reflects a different character. You got to go in a different direction.
And you know what they also could do is, because there ain't none of those cast members doing anything with their lives, have them come out and like cheer him on or something, like he's coming down the ramp. That just makes it more over the top ridiculous, like all his dad's past cast members. That'd be hilarious.
They're all old and shit now, and
I was gonna say you're gonna get Shannon Doherty to like root him off.
Oh man,
she like has an oxygen mask on or a tank next to her. Come get him, Jack.
So Jason's figured out how to turn him face again, because that'd just be funny. So I don't even know. I'll tell you.
Hey, Brendan said, "Hey fellas and Carlos, there are no mayonnaise cards. Unfortunately, I checked."
So that's a joke from Friday's live stream.
Okay,
So speaking of being healed, my buddy Eric, for whatever reason, has a very strong like repulsion to mayonnaise. So of course, just to be clear, and like really expressive about it, like he's really militant about like hating mayonnaise. So of course, being the kind, compassionate soul that I am, I take every opportunity when I'm out at the supermarket with my family. And my parents now know the drill, because I'm helping them out with their thing. And they go, hold on a second, I'll be right back. It's like, are you gonna take a picture of a jar of mayonnaise and send it to the guy who's freaked out by mayonnaise? Would I do something? Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So get on, and I'll be right there. So then I text messaged him with pictures of jars of mayonnaise just to torment him.
I was tuning in, and I didn't say anything in chat, but just kind of had it playing while I was doing other stuff. But
yeah, so I do this to torment him now. Basically, you showed weakness, and now I must exploit it for my own.
Exactly.
Take notes, Jack Perry. This is the shit you do. You just organically be like, you showed me weakness. Now I'm going to destroy you with it.
I will
me
not
on the
rest
other hand,
until
I fucking smother that shit on everything. So you know.
I've got a mini fridge here, and I keep some of my stuff here. Like the mini fridge is just behind me in my office here. So I usually keep drinks and stuff, but sometimes I keep some excess stuff from the refrigerator in here. The thing is, there's literally a jar of mayo in there. So a couple of times I've done like the thing where I'm on a live stream and I'll just do this, and then when I come back, I got a jar of mayo in my hands.
Gotcha,
Jason. The point is just to be an insufferable prick.
Right, exactly.
Take notes, Jack Perry.
Exactly. I'm like, he should be right down with like his legal pad, just writing everything down. Like, oh, here we go.
Listen, if Tony Khan's out there, and I know he watches your channel, so if Tony Khan's out there,
exactly, he's one.
I am willing to consult and teach this man how to be an irredeemable asshole.
That is awesome.
I will consult on this. I just do it in everyday living. I do it with a camera on or off. It doesn't matter.
Now, are you going to do that pro bono, or are you going to have to get paid for that?
Oh, God, no. I'm charging that man. That man can afford to pay for those fucking expensive songs. He can afford to cut a check.
He's paying millions of dollars for that shit.
You cut it. Some of that shit's super expensive. You can afford to cut a check, sir.
Right. Exactly. Because you're helping pay it forward.
Carlos is the ultimate heel by sending all that goddamn fucking wildfire shit to Pennsylvania. You know, I can't breathe. I got to wear an oxygen mask and...
I want you to know, and I feel terrible about that. I definitely didn't co-sign on building a gigantic fan and blowing it in your direction. Like the biggest fan I could find, and be like, point it at those fuckers. They're gonna get there.
Right at them.
Especially New York and Pennsylvania.
Oh my God!
Turn it on to max. Make sure.
I thought it was gone, and I was out walking the other day, and I was going. I'm like, fuck, I can't breathe man.
Forest fires don't take days off. Come on now.
Jesus.
Well, it'll turn off in winter.
Yeah.
Nice. Just 6 months to go. We'll be good to go. So what was the next match after that one?
Yeah, I got the next one queued up here. So it's a 10-man tag. It was a 10-man tag.
Oh,
so there was the Elite taking on the Blackpool Combat Club. Yeah. No, Brandon always likes the humanity bit. So it was the Elite taking on. I don't have too much to say to this. It was about a little over 20 minutes long. It was a good match. But it's one of those things where, like, right now they're just kind of going down the same path. I'm trying to decide. I think the only real storyline elements here, obviously, the continuing feud of these guys, and then Eddie Kingston having the thing where he's still kind of like buddies with John Moxley, but he hates Claudio, and like that's basically the storyline underlying element. The rest of it is just them continuously feuding. That's really all that's going on.
I know. Go ahead.
Kind of over the whole Eddie Kingston. I don't know. It's just.
I like Kingston, but sometimes he's got a certain, as a babyface or a heel, he's kind of the same.
Right. Exactly. That's what.
And sometimes that gets with the right person, it's really good. But sometimes it's just a bit annoying.
Yep. Right. 300%.
Yeah, I agree. Exactly. I was going to say, I think for me at least is that I think when that first year and a half, maybe even 2 years that he kind of first got there and like he got heated up real good, and then he kind of took off and he was having those good matches with pretty much everybody, but he was like kind of connected with Jon Moxley and the whole thing there. And then, then he kind of fell away, and he's been doing like the whole like, is he crazy? Is he not crazy? He got hurt, and he kind of went away for a bit, and he popped up on Ring of Honor and did some stuff there, but then he wasn't really like officially over there. He was, it was. I feel like they're just trying to find a way to use him again, which is fine. I know there for a while people keep trying to talk about giving him an opportunity for a title run with the actual belt, and I'm like, no. For me, that's a no.
I think there's a chance he's a guy who would be good with like the TNT Championship. If you find the right circumstance to get him in there,
right?
Or if again, Swerve, from what we talk about International Championship, Miro is a guy that was mentioned. I would prefer Swerve for the reasons that I mentioned, and I think the match would be good. I think the match would, but that's got to be a pay-per-view match. If you do the title change, it's got to be a pay-per-view match. Max it out, get the most you can out of it. I think those guys would tear it down. I think they'd have a great match, and it would be a good story. If you don't want to do something like that, you could have Eddie Kingston be an asshole who takes advantage of a broken Orange Cassidy. And just be a heel who took advantage of this and be like, well, fuck it all, now I'm the international champion. Again, there are ways that you can use the guys you have and exploit them with what you got. He could be an international champion as a heel. I think as a heel, that would make sense. Him being an asshole who took advantage of a broken guy.
Right. That's true.
I could live with that. Look, I'll give you a division that could compete for this championship that would make sense, but you got to figure it out. Like, make a decision. Who do you want? I almost would segment in my head quietly. I'd segment these guys. These are your contenders for the TNT Championship. These are your contenders for the International Championship, and then your AEW Championship guys are over here. You got like 3 separate lists. There can be a little overlap, but it should be a little bit of separation.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and so it'll be interesting to see what they do with Eddie Kingston, because he does have the ability to kind of float back and forth quite a few different storylines or different kind of things because of how he does. Like we talked about, he's kind of the same person regardless face or a heel. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him in the future. But all right, that's good. Like you said, I watched the match. Same thing. I thought you said it was a good match, but nothing overtly like excitable. It was just like all solid dudes doing what they do. Nothing to crap on.
Yeah, I don't think this card did not have a weak match in it. It had the baseline was solid. The baseline is either solid and then we go from there. But even the base, all of these matches could be on any pay-per-view card you want, and they would at least have a spot on it, even if it's right at the beginning of the show, the middle of the show, whatever the case is. You could fit it in there, and it wouldn't be out of place.
Right, and it's all about fitting it in there.
There you go. All right, so you got the actual women's match on the main card now.
Took me a second.
You got to be quick. You got to be quick. Jason's there. We're trying to get a shot in there. Right. So you got the AEW Women's World Championship match. So you got Toni Storm taking on Willow Nightingale. I've only got one thing I want to say about this. I think Toni Storm is doing a fantastic job with this title. She is the right person in this group to have this title, and I'm glad this faction has a championship. And I don't mind the ongoing feud with it. I think the fact that Jamie Hayter's hurt is putting them into a holding pattern. And it's kind of hurting this thing. But I just want to make this clear. Willow Nightingale and everybody else in the women's division. There's 3 of them. Why don't you bring backup from the get-go?
Right.
There's no reason why you should not, literally there's 3 of them. You should basically have 2 people backing you up at all times if you're going to have a match. You know how this is going to work. It's the same match every time. Yeah.
Wrestling math sucks. It's like they always show up with just themselves when they know they're outnumbered every time. And then even when they get the odds, they still somehow come up short half the time, and the outcasts or the heels will still have the upper hand, even though there might be, like you said, there's 30 AEW originals in the back, but there's only the 3 of them, but they somehow always get the upper hand. So I agree. But go ahead. What were you going to say?
AEW faces are stupid. and that's kind of a rule.
This is true.
Yeah, so like literally, you could literally just attack him in the back. And the same goes, and this has been kind of the issue. When Britt Baker turned face against them, she basically forgot she's a DMD and became stupid. Like everybody else. All the AEW faces are stupid. Men or women, it doesn't make any difference. They're all dumb.
Right.
It's like you literally could just attack them in the back before they even have a chance. You could literally take out Ruby Soho and Saraya, and they're out of the picture, and then you get a one-on-one with Toni Storm, and you're good.
Right.
At least you have a shot. But Toni Storm is doing as good a job as she can. I like Ruby Soho better in this role. And I like Saraya just being like backup right now and occasionally talking a little bit. She's not going to wrestle a ton of matches. So you're better. You're better with this right now. But they need to have a point. She's got the title. They've got this feud going. You need to actually move forward because it's been the same thing for months.
Right. I agree. Brennan said, I'd like to see a belt with cards instead of buckles.
I'm sure there's somebody who would make one. Yeah, so
let me ask you all this. Let me ask you all this. This is kind of piggybacking a bit off of what some of the stuff has been going on. Maybe not necessarily with Forbidden Door. Anyways, I was really surprised, and it also bothered me because they brought in Taya Valkyrie. She's had like maybe 8 to 10 matches. She's won like 3 and lost the rest of them to now Jade Cargill, like 2 or 3 times, I forgot. And then now she just lost to Hikaru Shida last night. And it's making me nuts. I'm like, you bring this person in. She's been wrestling forever. She knows what she's doing. I think she looks great. Like she knows what she's doing compared to a lot of the other girls that's out there. And not that Sheeta's not a great wrestler, she definitely is. But I just feel like if you're going to have her go in and pretty much be a glorified jobber now for every big quote unquote big match, and she beats like 3 or 4 actual jobbers. Like I don't understand what the purpose of her even being in immediately to a title shot 3 times, lose 3 times, and then when she maybe start getting momentum, gets beat again by Shida, which hasn't been around for like a month or so again. She was kind of hot and heavy with the whole Outcast thing, and then she disappeared for a month. She comes back, beats Taya Valkyrie, and then I'm like, okay, what's going on here? So maybe you all can let your all's wisdom wash over me and tell me what's going on here, or do you all feel the same way I do, or you're just like, I don't give a shit?
I don't give a shit.
Okay, thank you.
I care a little bit more than he does, but at the same time, though, it's not weird because it's Tony Khan's booking.
Right.
He'll sign, and this is for the men and the women. Like, look, let me just give it this way. This is not about an equality thing or not an equality thing. I think a wrestling show is better when there's a little bit of something for everybody. So I want women's wrestling on the show because it gives you a contrast. I want trios matches. I want tag team. It's better show if you get a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So I don't need to be 50-50, but the idea that you get put 1 token's women's match per show, it's stupid because it undermines the whole thing. There's no balance. Right. You had more than enough room on this card. When we get to the next couple of matches, that one's women's match was about 10 minutes, which is fine. But that was one of the shorter matches on this card. But for what they were trying to do, Willow was over. Toni Storm is great at what she does. They got at least 10. This is not a WWE situation where they gave him 2 minutes. They at least gave him 10 minutes. Gave him a little bit of time. But it was the only match on the card other than the pre-show. The Athena Billy Starks match before the pay-per-view. But it's like Tony Khan is like, oh yeah, we need to put a token women's match. Championship match with Toni Storm and Willow. So it's like, Tony, you're not really putting a lot of effort into this.
Right.
If you don't want to do it, then delegate somebody who will come up with a couple of ideas and then have them throw a couple of segments in there. Again, you don't need to have 50 matches. But there's plenty of room to put, like, why is Chris Statlander not on this card?
Exactly. Yeah.
Pick somebody random from Stardom and have them compete against Chris Statlander. Why not?
Right. I agree.
Because she would get a great reaction, and I think you could have a nice little match with it. Doesn't have to be big stakes, but just put it on there.
I was wondering the same thing too.
Yeah. It'll balance the card out. So your point, the reason Taya Valkyrie is there is because she is in the black hole, the vortex of the women's division in AEW, where Tony Khan can't figure out what the hell he wants to do with it, and he'll need somebody to occasionally remind him they have a women's division. They're like, oh shit, yeah, this, this, It's a good job, Tony. You gave that one deep thought.
Deep.
You thought about that. You thought about that one like a Jungle Boy promo. Thought about it. Deep thought.
Oh man! All right. So after the women's match on the Forbidden Door, what was after that?
Will Ospreay taking on Kenny Omega. 39 minutes and 45 seconds. I was almost bang on 40 minutes. So this is the the match of the decade in a way.
Right.
Already lauded by a lot of people. It was a great match. Two guys who were at the top of their craft. Will Ospreay was playing uber heel, so he'd already played it going into it. He did the spot where he rubbed his genitals with the Canadian flag. And then Kenny,
how does that go over in Canada?
Oh, we cheered uproariously. We all secretly hate Canada in Canada. Nothing we hate more. No, of course, he got the reaction he was supposed to get out of it, and it was a good strong reaction to it. He played it. If you're watching the post game show, Will Ospreay is a very well spoken, chill dude.
Yeah, I watched that. It was good. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, he gave the insight. He's like, yeah, no, they reacted great to. Like, I actually like in the post game press conference. I actually would like. I get that some of them want to do kayfabe so badly, but it's like I actually want to hear Will Ospreay's thoughts on what he was thinking, what he was doing. It was actually really good to him be like, yeah. So I tried this, and I really thought this was good, because then we actually get to hear what he was working on, what he was thinking about.
Sure, I
think it was good information. But yeah, he's the thoughtful, chill dude who happens to be a great wrestler and super athletic. Kenny Omega. Both those guys tried to tear the house down with it. There was the one spot that was stupidly dangerous with Kenny Omega. He literally got dropped on his head. I was actually very impressed he didn't get paralyzed on the spot, because it looked like he literally got flat out dropped on his head. I was like, that was a little sloppy, dude. You gotta be real careful with it. The problem is these guys do rely on that high impact move a little too much. And it's like, well, you better be super tight. If you're going to drop somebody down, you better be tight with it. You need to be bang on, you're hitting it. I'd rather you be a little bit on the side of safer. And there were a couple of spots where, again, Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega are both great. But sometimes I'm like, you don't need to do this. There was one spot in particular that I thought was interesting. He did a spot where Kenny Omega was, he basically hit a big move onto the ring apron, or nailed him from the top rope, and then tried to hit his cutter right after. And literally did it back-to-back moves. And I was like, you just hit a devastating move that is already a highlight reel move, and then you undermine it by trying to hit the cutter right after again. After.
Yeah.
And half a second later, very next move you try to execute, and the cutter didn't look as good. So you actually took away from the first move, and then we immediately forgot about it because you went to another big move right after that.
Yeah. Which I think AEW is notorious for doing that. They put so much stuff into a match, no matter if it's, like you said, a 40-minute match or a 4-minute match, that it just seems like it's like boom, 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 boom. You don't get a chance to really let it impact you in any kind of real way. And then, like you said, it kind of cheapens the real powerful moves, because right after they do that, they're right into a new move, and it may or may not be as good as you would like for it to be, but it just kind of takes away, like you said, the impact from it. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the problem is that the first move was executed perfectly. It was the second move that was a little bit sloppy, which kind of took away from the. I'm sitting there like Kenny Omega just sells the first move for a moment. Everybody buys it. The move was hit so beautifully that I'm like, no, you can do the cutter after. Wait a couple of minutes and then try to set it up again. But it's like you didn't need to run to go do the cutter right after you hit a first high impact move. The first move already looked good.
Yeah,
give it a second. It's not. So you only have 40 minutes. like you had plenty of time. You had plenty of time. I was like, both guys were trying to run at 100 miles an hour for basically 40 straight minutes, and I'm saying like, dude, you don't need to do that. And there was one more thing I'll say in that match that was the dumbest thing in the world.
Okay.
The referee threw out Don Callis. Fine. Then Don Callis comes back, and the referee's looking right at him, and I'm sitting there like, disqualify Will Ospreay. I'm sitting there, the referee got to look like the dumbest person. So first of all, you threw a guy out, and that meant Don Callis got to go to catering and get like a quick bite to eat it before he came back.
Right.
Exactly. Come on, dude. Come on. What are we doing? Dumbass. Like, if you threw him out the first time, then throw him out the second time.
Exactly.
What up, back to like the Ichiro?
What's up, Ray? There's some suspicious fellas in this group right here. Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah.
And then Brendan said, let's see here, Mick Foley is the standard by which punishment is judged. 100% Savage. Yeah, that guy, I just watched the match that he did. I think it was at King of the Ring or whatever, the one with him and Undertaker, where man, that was like those nut spots, Oh my gosh, that he got thrown off the top of the ring, and then he went through the ring 10 minutes later.
Yeah, but long term, like that was one of those ones where that was WWE's version of what I just said a second ago.
Right.
You just threw the guy off the top of the Hell in the Cell.
Right.
And then you threw him through the Hell in the Cell. And I'm like, what the hell for?
Right.
You didn't guys, I don't feel that throwing him off this gigantic cage, I just don't feel like that's enough to end the match.
You gotta go
I feel like
now.
we gotta do another and then you know what? Hit him with a tombstone, hit him in the head with a chair.
Right.
Bring some tacks
it's amazing that he's not dead and like for real, like in real life. Like,
I can't believe he can talk as clear as he can talk.
I know.
The dude's had to. Yeah.
I mean, that's the one where he got his tooth knocked out, and it was like through his nose.
Oh, I thought it was a booger at first. I'm like, oh, that's a tooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nuts.
So that was the WWE version of what I just said. It's like, guys, if you're thinking through this a little bit,
right?
Everybody, if you had decided that the spot where you went off the Hell in the Cell was near the end, and the match ended shortly after that, everybody would have bought it.
Yes, 100%.
I totally believe that you throwing him off the Hell in the Cell onto a table, that probably is close to the end of the match.
Yes, I would say that would be at the level of I'm good with the match ending right about now.
That's the thing. Like, I don't think anybody would be like, "Damn it! I wanted you to throw him through the top of the cage onto the mat." You just needed one more thing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I don't think he was supposed to go through the top of the cage.
I don't think he was either, but but Carlos' point was, then he goes down there and then he whips his ass some more before he actually puts him out of his misery. Like, it's like, yeah, he might not have meant to go through the cage, but then like he goes down there for another however long, 10, whatever minute, and just beats the shit out of him some more. It's just like,
but also you got to think about this. Again, this goes back to sometimes wrestling companies are stupid. Like, you got two dudes who at that time are 300 pounds each legit.
Yeah.
Undertaker's just a super tall dude, and he's big, and he's built. And Mick Foley's a big dude, so he's pushing 300 if he's not over 300. So, like, it's a fence. It's a chain link fence. I don't know about y'all, but you can bend a chain link fence. Like, I went to school. where people got thrown in the chain link fence. Guess what? That thing bends.
Right.
And we were kids. We were three of us couldn't get to 600 pounds. And you can bend the hell out of that thing. So what do you think is gonna? It's called gravity. It's called physics. What do you think happens when you take two dudes and you throw one of them? The chains break.
Well, the crazy thing is, to your point, is that if you hear them now, because Mark Calloway, who's the Undertaker, he obviously is now no longer his Undertaker persona anymore. So he like spilling all the beans now. And it's like, and then like, Mick Foley's always kind of been that, we'll talk about, like you said, behind the scenes type stuff. But they actually said, but it's to your point, Carlos, is that when they were up there on the second round before he goes through, they said they actually hear the rings like snapping and the fence like going to go bye-bye. And they decided to just keep staying on top and just go right on through. Like, they're just like, we know shit's getting ready to go down, but we're just going to go ahead and just, put an exclamation point on the end of this and just like go right through. It's like they can hear the ring go beep, 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 beep. Like that.
But look, can I ask you guys a serious question though? It goes back. At the end of the day, it already happened. Obviously, we saw that match. I saw that match live on pay-per-view at the time it occurred. It was a crazy card and a crazy match. But like, look, obviously hindsight is 20/20. But what if after that first spot where he goes off, in the second one, obviously, that wasn't completely planned, but as like common sense would have told you that ring is already getting weakened throughout the course of you guys walking up there is slowly weakening the metal. It's metal fatigue. It's science. This is not crazy. What if Mick Foley had fallen through it and broken his neck? And you have another Owen Hart thing right on the spot, right in the middle of the ring where everybody.
Yeah, I thought about that.
You can't cut away. Because you're staring right at it. It wasn't between matches. I saw the card where Owen Hart died, and it was happening in between during a video package.
Yeah.
On the pay-per-view, you don't see it.
And they showed the crowd.
In that one, you're in the middle of it. What if he falls and snaps his neck and he's dead?
Yep, I thought about that a million times.
Great match, right? Great match, awesome match, right?
Right. Oh yeah,
he's dead.
Yeah, but like, my point is that it wasn't necessary. Like I said, after that first big bump,
Yeah.
logic would tell you, yeah, if he loses the match right now, nobody's gonna think less of him. Oh,
No.
you wimp! All you did was fall off the top of the cage on the thing. You wuss.
I mean, that was a terrible bump in the first place. I mean, if people, I think we just have been desensitized to that bump because we've seen it so much.
Yeah.
But
well,
I mean,
broke his ribs and collapsed his lungs. So I mean,
yeah, I mean that is like something that is like from like a horror movie. Like what happened to him? Like getting thrown that far off and then like landing on that table the way it did. I mean, it was awful. I mean, even now, even though I know he's okay, it's just still watching that is like, jeez, like man, there's no way you could talk me into it. I don't care how much money's at the end of that table. Like I'm like, nope.
Yeah, I think the one though through the cage was actually worse because he was coming like backwards.
Yeah.
But my only, I agree with you. But the only reason I'm making I said again, we are desensitized now.
Right.
But the reason I posed the question the way I did is I said after the first bump, visually, it was a striking, dramatic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was huge.
Oh.
So and I'm sitting there. The second one should not have been, but it was actually the more dangerous of the two.
Yes.
Yeah.
It could have actually ended even worse.
Right.
And I'm sitting there. My point is, it wasn't necessary. So I'm at the stage. I'm at the stage now where guys will do different things. That's why I mentioned the thing where Will Ospreay, kind of dropped Kenny Omega on his head, and then he did like a big impact move after another impact move. The point that I'm making is these guys have gotten used to the idea of like, oh, we got to make it even more. We got to make it even more.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's a dangerous precedent to set.
Yeah.
Because eventually they're gonna fuck up.
Yeah. Well, Dutch Mantel says that like when I'm watching those videos, and I know he's been around since what, the late '60s or '70s. He's been around forever. But
1860s, yeah.
1860s, right? Yeah, exactly. He's been working on that mustache for a better part of 100 years
since the Civil War. Yeah, he got inspiration.
Yeah, exactly. But he said something he said something which we all know intellectually because it's the reality. He goes, they push so hard at AEW to do so many of these like really risky moves or really risky spots as far as like stuff in the up in the air. On the top of the ropes, like, or just do like the flying through the air, doing all kinds of stuff with ladders and somersaults and this, that, and the other. Like he said that they do that so much and so much with such reckless abandonment that it's just inevitable that one time one person's gonna miscalculate something and we're gonna see something really bad happen because it's like they just let them do whatever they want. Like they have like carte blanche just to do however they want to do it. Like there doesn't seem to be much restrictions on what they can or can't do, which there's a part of me who likes that. I don't want them not to be able to do the moves they want, but there comes a point where you're like, how much do like I said earlier, the sting spot from Forbidden Door, but also from this past weekend or past week. It's like at some point you're starting to wonder like, where is it for a good storytelling or just kind of a cool spot to now you're putting people's lives in danger. Like that's a fine line because it's different for different people maybe. But for me, I'm always just like, oh my gosh, like some of the moves that they do.
Yeah, like Cash Wheeler, all but going out over the
You talking about the guardrail thing, the King of
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'll kind of put it to you this way, Jason. The answer is yes, but part of it is, and this is going to be fun for me because the WWE fans will be like, oh, they're reckless. Like, go back to 1998. People were doing stupid shit in WWE all the time. Vince didn't stop anybody from doing shit.
Yeah.
It's only when he realized there were legal liabilities, he goes, wait, I need to stop people from doing shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. Hold on. Now, the thing is, WWE was doing this 20 and 25 years ago. So they had the chance to learn a certain lesson. And then eventually they're like, oh, we need to develop the WWE style, which is a safer style, which it is for the most part. The way I'll put it is this way. AEW is still too new a company, but Tony Khan, in his eagerness to please the crowd, allows the wrestlers who are largely from the independents to do the indie style. What I mean by that, and that's not a bad thing per se, but there's a reason why I'm mentioning the indie style. The indie style is we need to win over this crowd right now, tonight. So I need to hit everything that I got in my arsenal. But I was like, no, dude, you're on pay-per-view and you're on TV. People get to see it, which means you don't have to hit the 450 and then the gigantic cutter and then the other thing and then the other. It's like, save something for next month. Say because if you do everything and all of you are hitting 450 splashes, then it's not special. So it's like somebody has to be there to be like, hey guys, I know you can all do it. I know you can all do it. And you know what? Sammy Guevara, you want to hit a 450? Fine. Tonight, you get the 450 splash. Next week or 2 weeks down the road, Pac, you get the 450 splash. Dole it out. Everybody who can do it needs to have their opportunity to hit their big move, but not every week and not every time.
I think Sting should do it next week.
Well, listen, High Flyer Sting is the Sting that I know and remember. Jason, you don't remember Surfer Sting doing 720s? Do you remember that? Ric Flair and Sting flying off the top?
Yeah.
It's crazy. That dude was nuts.
Yeah, the Surfer Sting with the whole, more high flying, the more, I remember all that. That's the Sting I grew up loving until he went to Crow Sting, which is fine. But I do love that Sting as well, but like I said, I just cherish Sting as a national treasure more to him doing too many ridiculous spots like that in the future. Because that could have been way worse. I mean, it was already kind of a bad hit anyways. Like, it looked like he took a big old hit to the jaw with Sammy Guevara's knee or something. And I heard he said he busted some teeth or had he had to get stitches in his mouth or something. So I mean, he definitely didn't come away unscathed. I mean, he finished the match like a champ, but it was all right, man, that could have been way worse.
Yeah. So, I think what I'll do is Tony Khan. I'll give you a discount on the additional consult after I'm done teaching Jungle Boy how to heal it up properly. I'll give you a little consulting on telling some of these idiots to fuck off and chill out on some of that crap. Save it for the pay-per-view. No,
right.
I just don't like when they do too many of those big moves in Dynamite. Because
that's true.
But it's but if you're gonna have a pay-per-view match, then what are you gonna do in the pay-per-view?
Yeah, exactly. That's true.
Exactly.
That's a legit question. So, talking about questions. Exactly. Brendan asked, do you think the shock of that match, I think we're talking about the Undertaker Mankind match, made viewers tune out, or did it bring the magic? Did that cause people to really be enamored with it? Hey, what's up, Jay?
I never tuned out.
What's your thoughts?
We were in the middle of the Attitude Era. Everything worked.
Yeah, I thought so too.
People were watching before that match, and people were watching after that match for a while. And at that time, people were used to go back to if you got the network or whatever, or I think it's on Peacock now, right? Something like that. So anyway, whatever. You've got the ability to stream it. Go back to the late '90s Raw episodes, and you're gonna see. Go watch Mick Foley get 20 unprotected chair shots, or Ken Shamrock get obliterated by The Rock straight to the face.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Ken Shamrock can string 2 sentences together.
I know.
It's so reckless and stupid. It's and here's the thing: one chair shot, clean like that, already looks devastating. But he hit him 5 times.
Yeah, so especially back then when they were just taking direct hits to the head, right? No protection.
The big circle in the middle of the chair.
Yeah. I think most of the audience at that time, and I remember it, most of the audience at that time was drag old Rocky 4. If he dies, he dies. If he dies, he dies. That was the Attitude Era.
He dies.
That was the Attitude Era. Listen, I guarantee you that if the medical staff hadn't come in after D'Lo Brown draws, it would have been oh, hit him again. That'll put it back in place.
Yeah,
and then hit him in the face with a chair. And then hit him in the face with a chair.
Yeah.
It's chill out, dude. It's okay. Chill out. Everybody chill out.
No, I agree. But I will say, Brendan, in my opinion, I think that obviously I don't think they tuned out for sure, but I do think that match definitely endeared Mankind, Mick Foley, Cactus Jack to WWE or wrestling fans in general. After that match, I think that's really put him on the mat what was that? It really put him on the map. Yeah. For sure. And then also I'm kind of to what Carlos was just saying. Then after that, he was taking chair shots for everybody basically, and doing all kinds of high risk maneuvers for a guy his size and probably not the most athletic of guys in the world. And this pretty much is falling off and going into getting just destroyed in cages or whatever.
Legend Killer Randy Orton did some wild shit to him too. So.
I know, man. I still think about that. I mean,
that was at the end of
Randy Orton, but I was never. I'm watching right now. The famous wrestling families of wrestling or something like that, on DVD. I was watching it right before I started doing this with you guys, and the Ortons, and I mean, I understand. Like, I think he's probably playing a little bit of a heel during the interview as well, even though it has nothing to do with wrestling per se. But he just comes across like, just like if it helps him establish who he is, then it was worth it to like hurt these people. And I was like, and maybe he was just playing his like heel persona, like the Legend Killer persona a bit, because that's when they were doing this thing. But there's a part of me who just was kind of like, I don't know about that.
Well, the important thing was Bob there in the cast. That's the important part.
Yeah.
Like, as long as Bob was in the cast, then it's good. Then it's legit. The only other point I was going to make to that is that, like I said, after that whole Hell in the Cell thing, and your point, it brought Mankind and put him on the map, no doubt. And it's a good thing that after that, Mick Foley went to a very safe style.
Very safe. Never again did he take a dangerous bump.
Oh, ever. No. He stopped taking risks after that. He was a made man. He didn't need to do anything crazy after that. It was fine.
Yeah, he was brought into the inner circle of the McMahon family. He
didn't need to lose his other ear.
That's why I say, like, I can look back on that era nostalgically, but I'm not stupid.
Oh.
I'm not gonna pretend like, no, there was a lot of shit in that time too, and there was some stupid stuff. And at that time, everything was new, so there was novelty to it. That's why I say, like, you try to do the Attitude Era exactly, beat for beat, every single. Guess what? 3/4 of it won't work.
No.
It won't work. Because people won't react to it the way they did.
3/4 of the language won't even work. Like, everybody get offended.
No, right. But I made this point with Jason the other day. I'm not talking about being offended. I'm saying you will not. You'll get a reaction to social media, but the crowd will be like, eh. Like it won't get the reaction. I don't care about social media. I don't care what Twitter's doing. What I'm talking about is you can try it, but there's going to be people like me in the crowd are going to be like, okay, what else you got? Like I'm not going to react to it one way or the other. I'm not impressed, and I'm not entertained. What else you got?
But I will say, I didn't say this last time to you. I didn't say this last time to you, but there's a part of me who I agree. Like, I just wish they would try it. Now, like, to your point, if they try it and it like doesn't do anything, people just sit there like you just sit there and it's like, all right, like, is that it? But I think that so many of them nowadays are just unwilling to even try it, just to see if it doesn't go anywhere. Just like if you try like a certain type of change your persona, change up the music, you change this, you change that, you change up, the packaging. Sometimes it takes off, sometimes it doesn't. Like, then you got to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes now, again, maybe it's just me, it's stuck in nostalgia of like the 90s or the late 80s or whatever. But I was like, there's a part of me who goes, well, just try it. If it doesn't go over, and like you said, the response is just like, tumbleweeds. All right, all right, you proved my point. No one cares. But I feel like at this point, a lot of times, there's certain things we have to just come to a conclusion that they're not going to do anymore. Like you said, it's just not going to happen. Is that we can look back at it nostalgic, as you were saying, but they're just not going to go that route any longer. So, anyways, the final match, I think right after that, it was the final countdown.
Bryan Danielson. Oh, that's right.
You too. You skipped your boy Sting. Don't skip your boy Sting.
Right.
There's a match in between. So you got the 40-minute Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega match. And in between, we got a quick breather, 15 minutes. Sting, Darby Allin, and Naito taking on the Suzuki Gods. Come on.
Right.
So you got Sammy Guevara, Jericho, and Minoru Suzuki. By the way, I think Minoru Suzuki is having a great time. I think he's enjoying himself.
Oh,
he's having a lot of fun. I enjoy that dude. I enjoy the fact that he knows how stupid it is. But you know what? He even did the pose with the guys. Yeah. Like Sammy Guevara did the thing with Chris Jericho, and then Suzuki came in and did like a pose too. They're having the time of their lives. They were having a good time, and it was fun. It was a good fun match. And then of course, Luchador Sting doing his thing. Amazing. Amazing. Sensational. Rey Mysterio, eat your heart out.
You're right. He's showing Rey Mysterio how to do it, how it's done.
The Stinger is showing him. My favorite part about that match, I'll just say one or two things about it, but my favorite part about it was the spot where Sting was on the table and Sammy Guevara like jumps on him. But the thing is, I'm like 99% sure Sting was supposed to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Sammy Guevara lands, he's probably sitting like, shit, you were supposed to move, dude. Like Sammy
Guevara looked like he was trying to,
Yeah, so you got Sammy Guevara thinking, oh, he's going to move out of the way. I'm going to land on the table, but if I'm landing on the table, I need to land a certain way. And then probably at the last 12 seconds, you go, shit, what is this dude still doing here? How do I avoid hurting him?
Yes, I agree. I also think it's funny you said it's true about Minoru Suzuki, because he came back out last week because they still do that angle with Sting again or whatever, and he has to, and they're supposed to be heels, right? So but like you're saying, like Suzuki's just having a hell of a good time. He's just loving it right now. So Jeter, who the hell's Jeter? Derek Jeter showed up now. Chris Jericho is out there like scowling and saying like, "Sting, you did this," blah, 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 and he's all angry. But in the background, like Suzuki's just like smiling, like yeah, and then he like all of a sudden he forgot that he's supposed to be like grimacing and he just goes like this, like like that. It was just like so hilarious because he's just loving life. Everybody's cheering and they're just having a good old time, and he's just like he's like looking around smiling, and then you can almost tell there's a thing. He's like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be like angry and mean and upset or whatever, and then all of a sudden he's like yes. I just was like, this guy, he's just there for the ride. He's just there for the ride.
Dude is like 55.
Oh yeah,
he doesn't need to do shit. Like for him, he's having a good time right now. Why not have some fun?
Oh,
he's
sure.
having fun, and I enjoy it. I appreciate it. I don't need him chopping somebody for 45 minutes. Although that is kind of funny. And it actually reminded me of one more thing, real quick. I forgot to mention during the Blackpool Combat Club match. They did have a bit where Eddie Kingston and John Moxley start chopping each other, and I think they're still chopping each other to this very day. It was just this endless back and forth chopping, and my buddy and I were joking. It's like, oh, they're probably in the back still chopping, and I go, I want this to be a thing. I want this to be a thing where they just go backstage and you just see John Moxley and Eddie Kingston just chopping each other because they just never give it up. They just keep going.
Man, yeah, there was a couple. I forgot who put on the chop. I can't remember. There was a match not too long ago. It was like I think it was on Randall Just Dynamite, and I forgot who it was. I can't even remember the two guys doing it. But there was whoever was doing this chopping. It looked so painful. Like it was just like laying it on. Who was it?
Gunther?
No, it was on AEW.
Oh,
I don't really watch WWE. Like I'll catch some highlights, but I don't watch.
Gunther has some nasty freaking.
Yeah, I bet Gunther's a big boy, so I can imagine him laying some really thick chops on some people, man. I can bet.
The only thing though, and this is an AEW problem in a lot of ways as well. The thing is, they'll rely the same way they rely on some of that high flying stuff. Again, it's the indie thing where they're trying to win over the crowd every time, everywhere. Right. Every match is trying to win over the crowd individually, even though like guys, you have to win them over as a show. You don't need to, I want you to try to steal the show. I get that, but you don't all need to try to steal the show on every single show. Because it takes away because it actually diminishes it as you go. If you see a 450 smash in the first match, the second match, and the third match, when somebody does it in the main event, you're not going to get the reaction you want.
Right. Like,
use some common sense here. Use a little sense. Right. So, but when you get into this chop fest, it's a spot that I don't want to ban it, but I want to restrict it. It's a spot where the two guys start chopping each other, and it's like mano a mano. I'm like, that's stupid. If you're in a wrestling match, why would you let the dude just chop you?
Right.
Maybe like once or twice, but at a certain point, you like kick the guy in the nuts. Do something different. I'm not gonna let you just chop me all day. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. I'll chop you in the nuts, but that's it.
But it's a dumb spot because both guys like, so you're both idiots? Like, maybe you should do something different just to mess with the other guy. Kick him in the knee.
Yeah, I would not want to take a chop from Cesaro. I think his chops would be pretty terrible. He looked like he would lay him in like really, really hard. Yeah. So what was the final match? The final countdown, right?
That's right. So I think the theme song cost like $20 million.
I'm sure.
It was expensive. Whatever it was expensive. That's why I say like it was gonna be a one-time thing.
Yeah, Brian said backstage, he's like after the match, he's like, they asked him if he's gonna keep using it. He's like, I don't know. Tony's the one paying millions of dollars per click to play it. So yeah.
And you also have to pay for the rights to have it because AEW makes their DVDs. That's a separate right to have the music on the DVD because then it's available for people or in streaming services. So you got to pay for the streaming rights, you got to pay for the DVD rights, and you got to pay for the right to do it on the show. So that's like 3 separate licenses you need to buy. Each one of them, cash register, cha-ching, cha-ching, and cha-ching.
Yeah, that was. And so was that match in general? I mean, it looked amazing on TV. Was it as good as it was on TV?
I enjoyed it a lot. I think both guys were at the top of their game in a lot of ways. I think it messed up the match once Danielson hurt his arm. I
Yeah,
think it was the break. He
they were
did
10 minutes from the
say,
finish.
yeah. And now, again, to be fair, that was about almost a half-hour match. But remember what I said earlier. At this point, we've been there for 4.5 hours.
Right.
The crowd still stayed good, but they were kind of pacing themselves a little bit, finding certain spots to cheer a little bit louder because they're like, dude, it's already 4.5 hours in. They've been cheering for a lot of crap between the beginning of the show and right now. Yeah. So it's like, all right. That's why I said to Jason earlier, it's like, yeah, there was no. I wanted to go get. By this time, I had long since drank my beer, my $87,000 beer, and I actually wanted to get one more 87. I was going to mortgage my house and get a second beer, but I couldn't even do it because there was no good spot for me to get up and go get my freaking beer.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, that match looked amazing. It looked awesome. I didn't realize that. I didn't really. I mean, I saw it on the TV. So did he hurt his arm like pretty bad in real life, or was it like
it's broken?
Oh, jeez, I did not know.
I think it was the elbow. I think he mentioned. I think it was the elbow drop spot that Okada did. He didn't position himself right, so he like landed like here, and basically there was a break. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe in the match, if you watch it, there's a spot where Bryan Danielson like has a seizure, and it leads to the referee coming over and like the trainer coming over, and it's like because the match didn't end at that point. That's how he's basically using it as an excuse. He's a pro. He said, "I need a minute to get checked out or like have a look." Mm-hmm. He goes, "All right, I'm gonna fake a seizure." That's why I laugh. It kind of makes the referee look stupid. If dude's having a seizure, you probably need to end the match. But he's basically just needs an excuse for the trainer to come over, to look him over, to give him like, all right, what's going on? What's wrong? It's like, so it gives him a second. It also gave him a second to figure out how to change the end of the match. Right. Because now he's kind of doing it with one arm. So now he's got to adapt to that. So it was a great match, but I was doubly impressed that he was able to audible like the last 10 minutes or so with a busted arm that he can't really use, and completely changed the ending of the match and made it work.
That's awesome.
How was the pop there when he came out to that song?
Oh, super good.
It didn't sound very loud, like on. Yeah.
I will tell you right now, they basically when I watched the videos after the fact, they drowned out the crowd. Like they like I said, they knocked their volume down like 50 to 70% depending on the match.
Wow.
Yeah, you would think they would not do that. You would think they would want the TV home crowd to feel or to get the live crowd reaction, but
it was weird. But I knew when I watched the 0 hour pre-show and everything, the mix was completely off. Let's put it this way: there was cheering during the pre-show, even when RJ City and Renee were doing their talking pieces. But when you watch the YouTube video, you can't hear the crowd really.
Right.
So that's how I know that you've turned the volume down on the crowd. You turned them down in the mix. And they did that a couple different times. So because I was like, no, I'm there. I can literally hear the. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Brendan said experimenting does seem watered down when you look at the characters and storylines of in the 80s. Yeah. But we already we spoke about that. But I agree, Brendan. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but we already kind of all said our pieces. But I completely agree. I wish they would be more willing to take chances. And I know, again, not to beat a dead horse, but I think we have a current culture just around that people just are scared to take too many chances with the pure fact they're afraid it's going to blow up in their face. And I think that kind of has turned into it is you really have to work hard to be a Christian, like we talked about earlier, like an MJF, to get like legit heat, because they have to be creative. Let's be honest. They have to really be creative on how they can try to do something that feels a little bit maybe organic than the cheap heat that was easy to get back in the day. So it has to be something else. So, it is what it is, but I agree. And
real quick.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I thought
no. I was going to move on to the next thing he mentioned.
So if you ever want to see MJF back in, he's from New Jersey, and he used to do that show with Grimm's Toy Show.
Uh-huh.
Search up Grimm's Toy Show MJF. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
Like the dude back in like at 19 was doing this heel shit that's incredible. So
yeah, I mean, we all can see it. I'm sure you all seen it, but I mean, he makes fun of children, like to their faces with their parents there. He makes fun of fat people.
They should make fun of children.
Right, but I'm just saying he makes fun of fat people to their face. He's making fun of people on handicaps and wheelchairs. I mean, he don't care, and so that's what I'm saying. Like, he really is one of the few people who's willing to take a risk. Like, when you start making fun of handicapped people, that nowadays that's a risk. To be quite frank.
Well,
and
I just teach my little brother. I'll teach my little brother a cerebral palsy just to give him the fuck you, big
Nice.
fuck you.
Nice.
There you go.
Well, listen. The problem is if he went to WWE and tried to do that, all he'd do is make fun of the creative team.
True.
This is true. Oh my gosh! And then Brendan said, rarely won a match, but Iron Mike Sharp used to be entertaining with his hidden foreign objects. Yes, the hidden foreign objects. That is something that AEW has been doing a lot more of. Like, I mean, who was it who pulled out the? I think you and I talked about this last week, Carlos or whatever. Was somebody pulled out the camera and used the camera from like a Nikon camera from like 1985 and hit somebody in the head with? Oh, it was
that was Smarmy Christian too. That was Smarmy Christian, so that he won. He won
exactly
the championship. So he was able to become the TNT champion. It was Christian. Just to be clear, Christian, the TNT champion. No one else. Ignore the tall dude in the background with the mask. Ignore him.
Right. It looks like a giant, like a legit dinosaur running around and all that. But yeah, like AEW is notorious for foreign objects always somehow factoring in some match. I mean, pretty much MJF's made a career doing the Dynamite Diamond Ring. Like that's like his almost go-to almost every time. So yeah, the foreign objects is a big thing with AEW. Like there's a lot of matches won that way. So, but it is what it is. Well, guys, it's almost 2 hours. I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I really appreciate you both taking the time out of your evening to hop on here and do this. I look forward to it. We'll maybe do it again in another week or two. There'll be wrestling to discuss again. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, thank you both so much.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you both are very welcome.
Have a good night, Carlos.
All right. Yeah, everybody have a good evening. Take care, guys.